The CEO of Coutts has now resigned because of it. We know that now when Farage obtained a McCarthyite-style political dossier in which Farage's values and views were roundly attacked, millions of taxpayers, and therefore part owners of NatWest, that voted for Brexit, that are sceptical of net zero, and that voted maybe for Nigel Farage's party, well, they're all at risk. So how dare this jumped up millionaire banker think that she can get away with debanking and depersoning on perfectly legally held beliefs in a free society? That hasn't stopped the Liberal left coming out to defend the banking behemoth, by the way. Emily Maitlis, former BBC lovey, who left the broadcaster to speak truth to power, only it looks like she's now left it to defend debanking because of free speech.
The one thing we've learned from all of this is how to whip up a populist storm. Because at the heart of this is the choice by one private bank to say no to one customer, yet the power of the populist somehow is to turn utter entitlement into victimhood.
I dare say if this had been a left-wing Liberal lovey, being denied banking access by a taxpayer-backed bank, should have a very different opinion on the whole thing. I mean, what's next? A Maitlis monologue on the benefits of denying Brexiteers access to food, the NHS, gas and electricity? Where does it end? This is a taxpayer-backed bank. That she's advocating is a narrative of entitled victimhood. RBS, another bank owned by NatWest Group, closed the account of a women's rights gender equality campaigner without any explanation. Now, you don't have to be Einstein to guess the reason why. You speak too publicly against the notion that there are chicks with dicks and blokes with canny-looking fannies, and you'll quickly find yourself debanked. Does feminist Maitlis support these moves? Perhaps the most baffling scene was Labour, the party that purports to be for the working man and woman, siding with a bank 39% owned by taxpayers, indiscriminating against those who voted for Brexit because their values don't match those of the banking behemoth. Rachel Reeves, the Labour MP who will be Chancellor of our nation if the polls are correct, argued that we mustn't criticise the now former CEO of taxpayer-owned NatWest over these political debankings because she's a female CEO.
I don't like some of the, frankly, what I see as bullying attitudes towards her. She's the first female chief executive of NatWest. She took over at a time when that bank had real big problems. It seems to me that Alison Rose has done a good job turning that bank around.
How utterly pathetic, how supine. This is identity politics at its purest. You can preside over failure. You can take part in McCarthyite debankings that speak of values and beliefs not being in line with a taxpayer-backed bank. And still, Labour will back you to the hilt because you happen to have a vagina in the top job. This is a potent reminder that no matter what the failings are of the Tories, Labour are far, far worse. And how far the left has fallen, to once being the champion of working class, to now being the propagandists-in-chief for the banking classes. How short-sighted to not realise that it's first Farage, but will be you next. The right to freedom of expression, the right to legally hold views and values, the right to all of these things that we take for granted in a democracy such as ours. How pig-headed, how ignorant, how blinded by their hatred of Nigel Farage and what he's managed to achieve can you get? I say, thank God for Nigel. He's exposed not just the infection of ESG, wackery and wokery in our banking institutions, but the sheer vacuous excuse of an opposition that the Labour Party are, arguing that they stand for the poor whilst defending the woke rich. The important question to be asking is why NatWest, after 13 years of Conservative government, have allowed an ESG culture that is so deeply embedded not just in that institution, but in many British institutions, banks and other institutions, feel so emboldened to put together these political dossiers on those whose politics they don't like. And looking at the polling, the Labour Party's position is supported in defending this CEO by a measly 14% of people, you'd be forgiven for thinking that they actively want to help the Tories out of the political grave that the Conservative Party have actually built for themselves. I tell you, Farage has started the fight back, and this is only the beginning.